We're out in the garage because I've just been looking at some videos on ground effect vehicles. I did some a long time ago, but I've just been watching one where a guy is just using a rubber band to project one along the floor. It's not actually not putting a rubber band propeller on it or anything like that, just using it as a catapult launch. And I remembered I've got these bits of styrofoam out here that I can probably cut up and make a simple ground effect vehicle, catapult launch ground effect vehicle. So that's what I'm going to do. Got a spider there. Yeah, this bit of foam should do. Just have a go. Well, that's the first cut. I've cut the excess edge off it, just using a sharp knife. I probably should have set up the hot wire cutter, but that's out in the garage. No, out in the shed. It's cold and wet out there, so I'm just using a sharp knife. We're not actually going to use much of this by the time I've finished. The bits I want is that triangle and that triangle. So it's going to be quite a small item by the time I've finished. That's the two bits I wanted. And I've chamfered that edge so that they should go together like that. So the idea is the air goes in at this end and is trapped underneath to give it a cushion of air. Now, interesting enough, I did that. The bits that I cut off are actually probably good enough to do another one. Slightly larger. So we'll see how we get on with this. It's going to be quite heavy, but my idea was just to make this a catapult launch one, just to go up and down in the kitchen here. So I'll have to put something underneath it. The video I watched, the guy anchors his rubber bands to the floor with some tape and then just flicks it forwards. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'll glue these together. I'll use this craft glue, acrylic craft glue, because that seems to stick the styrofoam okay. I'll just turn that the other way up so you can see. Yeah, stick that like that. Probably have to put a tail on it and some sort of hook on it to launch it with as well. Bit of a delay here. The craft glue didn't dry very well overnight, so I've replaced it now with Gorilla Glue, which is what's foaming up there at the moment. So we'll have to leave this for a bit longer before we can progress. This stuff's all right as long as the air can get at it and dry it, but because it was between the thick sheets there, although it had dried on the surface, it hadn't dried in the middle. So when I tried moving it, it came apart again. Well, that's what we've progressed to. Got a wooden stick along the top there with a lead weight on it so I can adjust the balance. I put a fin and a tail on it, and the idea is the horizontal stabilizers have got negative incidents on them, so they lift the back up to push the front down to try and stop it raising up too much. Got a hook underneath, and I've got my rubber bands taped to the floor. So we're just going to see what sort of distance we can do. Remember, the idea is it's supposed to stay near the floor. It's not supposed to fly up in the air. It's not an aeroplane. It's a ground effect or wing in ground effect vehicle. Back at the beginning, I think I mentioned this was inspired by me watching one of the old videos in my playlist of ground effect vehicles. I'd had a question or a comment on one of them, and that made me look through some of the others. And the one that I was looking at was by John Ryland, and his video dated March the 4th, 2013. There'll be a link to my playlist in the video description, so you can look it up. But we'll give this a go. You may also have noticed I'm using my mobile phone to record all this, just as an experiment. The sound tends to go out of sequence, or out of synchronization when I edit it, which is a bit of a pain. So that's going to go under there and pull it back. And we want it to stay relatively close to the floor. I'm just going to see if we could do the full length of the kitchen. It'd be nice. The length of the kitchen would be 5 meters. Okay, horizontal stabilizer. Knocked it off with my hand as it went past. You can see the glue's not even dry yet, so I'll go and stick that back on again. I did about 3 meters, I guess. Came up too far, so we'll move the weight forwards a bit further. That actually made the full distance. it did the full distance. Knock the tail off again. As I say, that's the glue's not even dry on that. So, right. So that's that. That's job done. Oh, the weight came off as well. But you may notice that I've done a little bit of extra work here. There's a little plastic tube on the end, and the idea is in the next version I'll see if I can put a rubber band powered propeller on there and see if we can get it to do this under its own power without the catapult launch. But at the moment, that's it. A rubber band powered ground effect vehicle catapult launch. Cover off the catapult if I hadn't shown it in the video earlier. It's just a string of lightweight rubber bands. There's not a lot of power there, and that's just masking tape. Double layer there to give it a bit of strength where the rubber band goes through it, but just ordinary masking tape, so I can take it off again and nobody's any the wiser.